Hey youngins! Thanks for coming back to a new episode of the We're So Young podcast. Just a quick backup info on this podcast. This was actually recorded at my Hollywood, Florida loft studio, aka my apartment. So you might hear our favorite little occasional co-star, Pickles, and my cat, Weasley, my wiener dog, and my long-haired cat, making a little bit of noise in the background. Just go with it. This is a great interview, and I cannot wait for you to hear all about Troy Davidson.
One jump ahead of the lawman, one skip ahead of the sword. I steal only when I finish. Can't afford. It's good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the We're So Young podcast. Today we have Troy Davidson, an actor, a former opera singer, a clown, and one of the people that, like, if he walks into the room, the entire room lights up. So I'm very, very excited to have him here with us today. How would you describe yourself, Troy?
You're so nice. I'm just a dude who likes hanging out with his wife and playing video games and, just grateful for, the world we live in and try to, be within it.
Yeah. You work with Mandy. Mandy's your wife. You work with Mandy a lot with, like, video game conventions and stuff, which is, like, such a fun thing.
We're so nerdy.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we have, like, an Avengers crew of nerds down here, and we are, like, super nerdy, but super, successful in our jobs, and, we're out of the basements and out there in the world, succeeding and living lives and hanging out with each other all the time. Yeah. Very, very happy to have that crew.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, where'd you grow up? Where's your family from? How did you become essentially a clown as an adult? Dr. Waffles.
I mean, there's a part of you, or, that people always say you've always been a clown at heart, or you've always just been kind of a goofball or whatnot. For me, I'm growing up in Coral Springs and Broward, a little West Indian Caribbean kid in, Coral Springs, a big Jewish community, and just kind of being around everyone, learning, loving. Grew up in church, and that was definitely my first stage and platform, doing the Christmas shows, singing Santa Claus songs and reindeers and all that stuff. But yeah, I grew up in Coral Springs. Around when I was 9 years old, a chorus company came to our school and had auditions for boys choir. And everyone had to go through it if you were a boy, I guess. And they were like, just get inside here and sing. And I sang, and I loved singing Disney songs at the time. And they were like, this guy knows all the lyrics to Aladdin's One Jump. Oh my goodness. So they, I guess, hired me, so to speak, if a 9-year-old can get hired. And I kind of got to see art in a different way. For me, art was not really... It was just something that was fun. You play, you dance, you sing as a kid just for the fun of it. But then I got into this chorus, and they were like, here's some technique. Here's some method. Here's what scales are. Here's how you create the things that you're just playing with and having fun with. And for 3 years, I was in that Singing Sons boys choir, just learning music theory, learning how to be on stage, learning performance, learning how to work as a group in a choir, learning my place within it. Super important.
You're, like, such a team player, and that makes sense that, like, at such a young age you had to deal with that.
I had a lower voice for a boy, obviously. So I was, usually it's like the sopranos, it's the higher note kids that have, like, the solos, but the lower voices, the bass players, they're just in the back, kind of just, keeping it going. And that was where I lived, was kind of in that lower register. And I loved kind of just being there and learning, getting to learn more about music and art through that way. And that easily kind of transitioned into high school. My high school teacher in drama class was like, hey, you should probably try out for a play. And I was just taking, like, drama 101, like everyone had to do that elective, and had fun in that class. And she was like, just saying, Romeo and Juliet's coming on, why don't you give it a try? And I was like, sure, whatever. And I did, and she put me in a play, and, you know, Romeo and Juliet, so there's sword fighting,
Right,
and you're
that's
talking in a
fun.
funny language, yeah.
Who did you play?
Benvolio.
Oh,
Yes.
that's such a good one.
No, first fight of the entire play.
Yeah.
And super fun. Totally got that kind of on-stage bug back from being in a boys' choir. I was like, oh, I really enjoyed being on stage. And yeah, it was that boys' choir that I did opera in. Good memory on that one.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, it was in Tosca, which was the Gold Coast Opera Company was putting it on. But yeah, after that, I hadn't really been on stage until I got into high school, and then from there on, my amazing teacher, Lori Sessions from Terravella, she really fuels her students with positivity and really makes you understand not just the glory of being on stage, you know, that kind of audience, you know, high, but also the craft of it and the work of it. She was amazing at giving you a really good brush of all the colors of a career in the performing arts, and really set me up and a lot of us up for the 20 plus years she's been at that school for a career in whatever we decide to do after high school. And so after that, it just kind of seemed kind of natural from there to continue in the performing arts. I tried to dip away from it in college because I, was, going through what we go through in college sometimes, or when we get out of high school trying to find ourselves. And I was like, you know what, I've been on stage since I was 9. You know what, forget it. I'm going to go be an ad guy. I'm going to sell ads. I'm going to get into advertising.
Make the big bucks.
Yeah, I'm going to make the big bucks. I can still be creative. I can still, get inside people's minds and like influence them, but through advertising. And that lasted for like half a year before I was like,
Where
hey,
did
man,
you go to college?
I went to UCF.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Golden Knights. I did not stay there very long. I spent a year there before I was just kind of found myself kind of unhappy. I was taking some theater elective classes. I was trying to get away from theater, but I found myself like just being really sad that I wasn't involved in theater. And then I had like that 18-year-old crisis where I'm like, I'm wasting my life. I should have gone into theater. Everyone else is getting jobs, and I've spent a whole year here, and now I'm behind. I'm never going to make it. I'm calling my sister on the phone crying at night, being like, I don't know what to do. And, older sister, she's like, just do what makes you happy. And for me at that time, it was dropping out,
I dropped out too.
Yeah. Hey, Dropout Club. What's up? I'll drink to that.
Yeah, drink to that. We're drinking some Pinot Noir right now.
Very nice.
Oh, thank you, Naomi.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a paid advertisement, but it's very good. Yeah, I mean, something similar really happened to me. I was like right out of high school, and I was going to Miami-Dade College after not being able to go to NYU because of just like former like family things.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so unhappy, and then I booked being an understudy at MTC, and I was like, this is more money than I've ever made a week in my life. And I didn't consult it with anybody in my family. Like Jeanette Taylor was like, you have the role, and I was like, great. Went on my phone and dropped all my classes, and
yeah.
It's interesting, and I think that you're someone that can understand that in the sense that like you don't realize what you did until you did it, and you're just like, man, okay, this is I chose to do this now, and then like somehow it just kind of works out.
There's a lot of big choices they expect of you to make when you're 17 years old, 18 years old.
Yeah.
A lot of big choices. And, in hindsight is one of those things where it's like, why would anyone ever let me, or why would I, what am I expected to do at that time? I didn't know much of anything.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's like, it's okay.
Right. Yeah. It's being 17 is just like your baby. Like your whole life is like, you can change your career like 7 times before you can really
right.
like.
And they want to and they're like asking you to take out all these loans. Like, hey, I'm 17. Here's $20,000 that you're gonna pour into something that you don't really understand.
Yeah. That's one thing. I don't have any student loans.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I had 1 year to pay off, and I paid it off. And yeah, it is a nice burden that some friends of mine are still stuck in, and it's a real struggle. And granted, they have degrees and are successful in other ways as well, so it's paid off for them. But but it is nice.
You're successful too.
Try to be,
Yeah. Okay, so what happened next? So you dropped out. How did your family react to this?
My mom has always been a big proponent of education, as most parents tend to be. She's from Trinidad and did not grow up with much, and education was her ticket out. She had to study and work very hard to pass exams so that she could go to England to be a nurse, and by doing so would get her to a different place in her life through education. And so she was always a big proponent of college, as we all are. Our parents were like, you're going to college, and you just say yes, 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 yes. When it came time to that moment where I was like, I'm not happy, and I have to be real with myself that this is not working out. I'm getting less and less interested in classes. I'm getting less and less interested in where direction I'm going in. She was understanding that I wouldn't stay at UCF, but she was also trying to encourage me to continue something, of course. And so for me, it was, hey, I could drop out of UCF, but I would have to enroll at PBCC and start taking classes there, which of course I did. I could come home, but I would continue college there. And I got a job and I started doing the college thing. So it was a nice compromise, so to speak. But like I said, also, that's not where I wanted to be.
That's also, like, really brave of you, you know what I mean? Especially at that age, to just be like, this is not making me happy, and I'm gonna take this leap. Like, I feel like a lot of kids are so scared to do that, and I think that you were lucky to have family who was like, okay, figure it out, you had a good head on your shoulders to have, like, a plan for it.
I don't know if I had a plan. I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing, and I just didn't want to make decisions like that at that time. There is a part of you that feels like a failure when you don't continue in the path that everyone's expecting you to go. For me, from my parents, it was, school is your key to success in life. But then on the other hand, coming out of high school, like yourself, I had quite a name for myself in high school coming out. And there was an expectation of Troy's going to be a superstar. Troy's going to be this big time actor. Troy's going to, change the world on a global level, and be a name on everyone's lips. And, in high school, you come out of it, you're like, I think I will.
Yeah. That's so scary too. It's such a high expectations when you're 17. Yeah, that yearbook that your microphone is on, you'll see that I was voted most likely to be famous, and here I am.
Hey, yo,
that
getting
tiny
famous.
apartment in Hollywood with my co-star Pickles. And,
famous is relative.
Yeah, But it's also, you start getting older and you just realize that what is it that makes you happy, and what is it that makes you successful, And I think that both of us in that sense are very successful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went to BCC.
PBCC.
PBCC.
Palm Beach Community College.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Took an amazing creative writing class there with amazing people, amazing teacher, really organic. And what happened for me then is I felt good that I wasn't where I was before because I was very unhappy. But now I was attacked by the failure monster and the expectation monster. I don't want to run into anyone who I knew from high school. I'm working at FYE at the town hall at the town center mall. I'm just I don't want anybody to know. For the younger
generation, what is FYE?
Yeah, FYE is for your entertainment. You get CDs, DVDs, video games. And it was a mecca for me because I was like, awesome. I'm into all that stuff, and I just get to sell people on it. I had a beautiful story there of this mom who came in, and she was like, hey, I just had a child 2 weeks ago, and it's my third child, and for every child that I have, there's a song that kind of ties in with them, somehow. And she's like, I had this child. She's like, I don't know, I just wanted to come here and find some music. And for me, I love entertainment. I love the arts. I love music. I love movies. I love video games. I love concerts, all that stuff. And so she told me the story, and she told me what the previous songs were, so I didn't like overlap. And I was like, come with me. And at that time you could like sample songs and all these different things. And we kind of went like genre by genre, and I was trying to learn her taste, and that's why I really loved the job. It was minimum wage. I was 19, 18 at this time. And then all of a sudden it kind of clicked with me. I was like, you ever seen the movie Tarzan? And she's like, I might have missed that one. I'm like, come with me. And I let her listen to You'll Be in My Heart, in My Arms. And she puts it on. Stop your crying, it'll be okay. And she's like,
and Phil Collins,
oh like, my goodness, and that
pulls
song,
at the heartstrings. Yes. I mean, that whole soundtrack
is amazing.
Yeah.
She heard that song and was just like, you found her, like her kid. And I was like, okay. She's like, oh, there we go, we'll get it. This one, this is it. I'm like, yeah, this is what it's about right here. FYE. From the previous generation.
That's why I do this.
Yeah. So I was working there and going to PVCC, and the failure. This is where that I had that courage to make a stand for where I am in my life, but this is where that failure monster kind of gets at you, and that regret monster or that shame monster, whatever you want to call it, kind of gets at you. And I dropped out of that too, and I was having a good time. I just felt like I was in that creative writing class working on a piece, and it was a good piece, and it was good people, and it's a great teacher. And I was writing this piece, and then I just kept feeling like I couldn't finish it. And I just kept on trying to write this thing, and then I felt like, well, I can't bring this in. And then I was like, I can't go in. I can't go in at all. I don't think I gotta just hide and just work and go home. And like, I just feel so bad about where I am versus where I was expected to be, where I expected myself to be at that time, that I just didn't want to be around like anybody besides like my family and like work. And that got the better of me. I think I lied to my mom, because I think I stopped going, but I was like, yeah, Mom, it's going great. That classic, like, I didn't do my homework, but I'm not going to tell anyone sort of thing. Right. And I think, I just kind of kept this guise up, that I was still at PBC for the entire year. And I went there for maybe like half a year or maybe 3/4 of a year, but that definitely, like, that last half I was just going less and less, because I was once again finding myself like, this is not me, this is not what I want to do, but everyone's expecting me to continue to do it, so I'm doing it. So what if I just lie and just say I'm doing it and then not do it? And eventually I was just like, this is silly. What am I doing? Like, I'm telling my mom, like, all right, off to school. And then I like go to like the Wendy's and just like, I sit in my car and listen to a podcast or listen to the radio, talk radio or something for like the 4 hours that I would be at school, then come home like, whoosh, what a day. Like, cause I just don't want to disappoint her, Eventually that all comes out and that all comes to light, and I'm just like, hey, this is honestly just not working for me. The system or whatever is that higher education provides was not working. And I was at that point that I was like, where am I happy? And
scary.
The answer was acting. That's where I'm happy. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in that world of performance art. And so I looked for a school that was specifically that. And that's where I came to the acting school of South Florida with Michael Joya and Casey and all them.
I didn't know Casey did that.
Oh yeah, we're homies.
Oh.
We go back to 2005.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You don't want to know how old I was in 2005.
No, it's cool. It's good. How old are you?
I was in high school. I was like probably a freshman in high school.
Okay, yeah. So like 14.
14.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. I love ages. I love everything. Yeah, so I think I was probably like, what, 21, 20 or 20? Yeah, almost 21. And I applied to that school.
Younger.
Oh, okay. And that was where it clicked. I talked to the teacher there, and he talked to me about acting, and then he talked to me about me. And I found not just a place where I could understand, or I found the higher education that I was looking for, because I did want higher education. I just wasn't getting what I felt I needed from these places.
Right.
And when I stepped in that school and I talked to Michael Joya, he was answering a lot of questions that I had. And I found it very easy to realize that this is the place for me, and enrolled in the school there. They had a conservatory program, and finally received the education that like I was craving, from like mentally, physically, spiritually, like whatever. Like that was the place that I needed to grow as a person. From the teachers there to the students there, the friendships, the structure, the lessons. It was the fit that I needed. And I spent about 2.5 years there going through the program. It was a 2-tier program, and you get a certificate at the end, and you put on your own show, you write your own plays, and it really set me up for not just a career in the arts, but also a new perspective on myself and how I want to go through life. And one of the greatest things that I learned there, I think they had a plaque on the wall that showed the importance of adaptation. And for him, it was, there was a story that he had that went with, he had to fill in for a role kind of at the last second when he was acting years ago. And
Who's he?
Michael. Yeah. And because of that, he had to learn how to adapt very quickly. Like, instead of coming in and being like, well, I'm going to do the scene this way, they would have been rehearsing this, but someone dropped out or whatever, and he had to come in last minute. And the idea of like, I'm going to fill in a spot. I'm going to adapt to what's around me, what the director's doing, what the actors are doing. And instead of worrying so much about like, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, it's kind of just like, it's adaptation. It's filling in where it is so that the overall show can be a success, so everyone can be all right. If he came in and was demanding things and was like, we need to do this way and this way, it would set them back another couple of weeks to like integrate that. But instead, he found where they were and then fit in. Granted, it's kind of an idea that I fill in. It's kind of an idea that I'll apply to certain aspects of my life. Of like, at MTC, like that was a very awesome structured place.
Yeah. I mean, there was like a formula.
There was a formula, yeah. And there's a part of you that's like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But it's like, no. There's an overall picture here that I'm going to adapt what my expectations are. I'm going to adapt from it being what I want necessarily to seeing like, what is the whole group here? What is this all?
And I mean, that's what art is, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, I think the most impacting art is the most selfless. It's the one that like you're giving to people as opposed to it being for you kind of thing. And theater, it's all about, I think, is like ensemble work and just like being able to connect with people. Like, I think it's funny. I was talking to someone who doesn't do theater, and like, you don't realize how much it takes to put on a play, like it takes a village to like, and it's like, and if there's one person who's an issue, then that creates an issue for not just, the other actors working, but it creates an issue for everybody. And I think that being able to adapt is just like one of the most important key concepts of being an actor. So. And
true, there's moments where, necessarily just going with the flow doesn't work, and sometimes you have to be that strong person, whatever. There's all sorts of scenarios, so I totally get that there's some moments where it's like, I didn't adapt to college. Right. So it's definitely kind of an idea that I like to play with and is take a lot of value from, but like all things, nothing's absolute.
Right.
Man, I just realized how big your question was. I'm still going. Yeah.
I love it.
Sure thing. Thank you. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Oh,
I don't know if
course.
I was able to fully appreciate.
Very excited when you said yes.
Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yeah, this is dope.
I know you've heard people say this, but you're just like so modest about it. But like literally, like you walk into a room and it's like everybody's like, Troy. Like there's not another person that I know that like impacts an entire room the way that you do, and just like a genuine like there's like so much love in the room for you, you know, and it's like so it's, you know.
If I could blush, I would. Oh, you're too kind. That's very nice of you to say such nice things.
So you went to this, and then you got your certification.
Yes.
And then what? And then now it's like now there's no excuse. Now you're in the real world, you know, like now. So you got this education.
Yeah, I got the education I was looking for. I felt prepared for the next step. Like I felt really prepared from that school to be able to tackle the next step in my career or life.
Your career. So what would that be for you at that time?
Preparation, direction. Yeah. Those two things. I did not have any of those things before. That being said, you know, I'm still 22, I guess, by the time I'm getting out of there. I think everyone kind of goes through this when they finish school. They kind of go into a bit of malaise, like, all right, I graduated. Now what? Yeah. And I did exactly the same thing. I still felt prepared. I still felt valued. I felt like I had talent to share with the world, but I also just didn't. I continued going to the school, meaning I didn't take classes there, but I enrolled in, not enrolled, I worked as a secretary there, signing up students. I also was paying off the school as well. He gave me a great way to kind of work school thing, you know? So he hired me so I can help pay off the money that I owed him, which is very kind. And so I got to kind of stay at the school. And so I kind of got this kind of like, well, I'm still at school, you know, I'm not really doing any of the classes, but like I'm still here. I'm still signing people up. I'm still hanging out with Casey, and you know,
there's a comfort in that.
There is a comfort in that. Until finally one of the teachers there, Kim St. Leon, who's dope. Yeah, she's the best. Very no nonsense, gonna come out there and say it. She was just like, Troy, you're auditioning for this now. Just like calls me up and says it. I'm like, okay. And she had me go and audition for summer shorts. And so super kind and gracious. Like they saw me late one night, auditioned, and hired me for the kids shorts tour. Right? Yeah, that's great. So you go to some far off places. Huh? You go to some far off places in Miami. Yeah. And as a Broward kid, I was like, where am I? Yeah. I have to wake up at 4 to be there for 7.
Also, Miami is one of the biggest counties, and like it's not until you do a school tour that you realize how big the county is.
Gosh.
You have like one.
Dade is massive. Yeah. Homestead is like I can't comprehend it sometimes.
I only understand the cinnamon rolls and not very far. That's all I get. I'm like, so aside from that, like, why? Maybe the Everglades, maybe Shark Valley.
Yeah, so, you know, her and Stuart really kind of gave me my foot in the door down here. And, you know, from Kids Shorts, they needed an assistant manager for Summer Shorts proper. They were doing 4 shows at the time. And for 2 of the shows, the kids show and their dirty show, Undershorts, they needed an ASM. And I hadn't really had experience on the technical side of things. But I did enough that I was able to be like, I feel confident to be like, put me in, coach. And he totally did. And it was so awesome. Exactly. I was like, well, I want to be in the arts and I need to make money and I'm gotta, you know, go with the flow and try to, you know, learn from it. And Summer Shorts was like the greatest lesson adaptation because number one, it was great not to be an actor, to work with the full Summer Shorts, the full shows, because I'm an assistant manager and I have to learn the flavors and techniques of 8 different directors, 16 different directors, because each play has a different director.
Oh, that's different than now, but yeah.
At that time, like each play, maybe there was a few that overlapped, but mostly it was each play had like a different director. Wow. So it wasn't just, hey, let me take care of the actors, but I got to take care of every single one of these directors and their specific styles, the props they need, the prep, how they prep the room is different for each of the directors. Do you want tape out? Do you want props out? Do you want this out? And I just had to learn each of their different styles, which was also amazing as an actor, because I was learning each of these styles, and they were hiring, the best from South Florida, as always, to be the directors for each of these pieces. It was such a good. It was like another college, but it was set in the industry that's in South Florida, and like cherish like that time of just being able to learn. And also as an ASM, I'm not the main manager, so I don't have that pressure. And I'm not an actor, so I don't have that pressure. I just get to be an ASM helping people just do what they have to do. Like they needed someone to fill in for a couple of roles, like little walk-on things, and I was like, well, here I am, let's do it, and I'm proud to be a rat that scurries across the stage for this scene or whatever. Or a possum, I think I was definitely a possum that gets road killed. Yeah.
Sounds like some
it was good. It was good stuff. And yeah, and I kind of, from then on, Stuart continued to really help me progress my career. He would call me out for stage readings and things, even post summer shorts. And from doing that, I was able to meet Ann Kelly, who's one of the most incredible people on the face of this earth. And she saw me at a reading and at a party, and pretty much, talked to Paul Tay, who was a teacher of mine as well, and was like, hey, this kid Troy, like, he read this play. And Paul was like, I taught Troy. And then we kind of looked at each other. He was like, you'll fit in with us. And I was like, hell yeah. And from then on, like, I hooked up with Mad Cat, and then just that was my fam
down here.
Yeah. And that was my fam, and they really just, got my whiskers with them. And just that's when I felt like no longer like I was being introduced necessarily into the community, but I found like a place in it that I was able to fully just let loose and learn and bring something to the table and cultivate the direction of the industry down here through Mad Cat Theater Company. And yeah, I just stuck with them ever since. And whenever we can do a play together, we do it. And they're the fams.
My favorite thing that I've ever seen you in was a Mad Cat show.
Cool.
Centralia.
Oh, love Centralia.
That play.
It just smiled ear to ear.
I was so sad when I was like, why am I not in this? Such a good play. Such a good play. But like, what a life lesson, like if you were to look back, or if your 17-year-old self could have been told, like, you're gonna be fine, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna go through these things, and you're gonna be sitting in your car listening to radio talk shows for 4 hours, you know, like, but it's gonna be okay, and I think that's so beautiful, and I think that's also a big thing that makes you very positive, it's just like these things that you had to go through to like feel at home.
Yeah, it's that perspective on expectation, I think, that got it for me. I had these expectations of what I was supposed to be, and I wasn't meeting them, and I was feeling really bad about myself. But then when I found the reality of where I was in is not what I expected, but better than what I was expecting. Like, I'd much rather be putting on this quirky indie play with Mad Cat than like famous somewhere off, doing on Broadway or something. Like, I was so fulfilled in that I didn't know that that's where I would find fulfillment, but I did, and continue to. And so that was great. And that's just an expectation being like, well, why was I killing myself over those expectations at the time when I didn't know there was fulfillment elsewhere?
So,
yes.
Clowning. How did that come about? Like, are you how many different clown names do you have? Are you allowed to say? Is that like a secret? Like,
some clowns have multiple names, and it depends on the gig they're working on. They just feel more like, I know a clown who in the hospital, her name is Dr. 11 because she gets to be number 1 twice. And then when she's working at a camp, she goes by Chicken. That's just how she feels. But for me, I'm Dr. Waffles, Everywhere I go. And if I'm not in the hospital, I'm just Waffles.
Oh.
Keeping it simple.
Right, is it like in Disney, like if someone recognizes you outside, like are you just supposed to be like, I don't know who that is?
Totally no. Sometimes people have recognized me as Waffles if I'm down in Miami. Maybe not so much at the hospital because I do some light makeup there. But no, I guess I don't know.
So how did that come about? And like, you're not like a traditional clown with like all the makeup and all the like I'm scared of those clowns.
Sure.
You're
Sure. No.
You're just a clown.
We're kind of the spirit of clowning. The actual just humor, fun, play. I don't wear full makeup. I'll put a little makeup on my nose, and I'll put a little bit on the cheeks, and just very light things, just so that people know that I'm not pedestrian. I do therapeutic clowning in hospitals, so when you walk into someone's room, you don't want to look like a stranger. You don't want to look like a regular person who's just like, hi, I'm here, because that's like, what is a regular person doing here? But when you have very eccentric clothing or something that is not normal, you have a little nose, that is immediately a signal to the people of, oh, okay, that they're not a random person. Yeah. This is someone who's funny. This is someone who is a clown. It kind of cuts out the awkwardness quicker
right.
by having that physical signatory. I got into it through acting, because of Mad Cat. I kind of got a touch for doing plays that were a little off the center, of standard plays and musicals. And as such, I was super interested in Evil Dead, the musical by Promethean Theater.
Which you did, right?
Yeah.
Did Margaret Ledford direct that?
Totally.
Yes.
Her partner Deborah Sherman was a clown at the hospital, and she had been for a while. And I've had a couple lunches with her previously, and she talked about her work there, and I was like, this sounds really cool, and her training in it. And so she sent out, while I was in the play there doing Evil Dead, blood all over my face and intestines everywhere. She was like, yo, everyone, we're having auditions for this clown thing. She sent it out to the cast. She's like, have 3 minutes of anything. Come on in, check it out. And then at that time, as you know, I was in the full hustle. I was in Troy Pro hustle. Every audition you go through, you have one show lined up. You already have the next show, and you're looking for the show after that. Like, you are working everything. And so for me at that point, I knew about the work, but really what got me was audition.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, I'll be there. What do you need? Yeah. What do you need? I got it. What do you need? A song? You need a joke? You need a dramatic, comedic, whatever. I don't know. What do you need? I'll do anything.
I'm glad we're like in the point in our lives that like now we're more picky, because that time of our lives is like so stressful.
It's so stressful. It's a lot.
Yeah, and you're willing to take anything, whether it pays or not. It's just like the exposure and the
You got to. Yeah, it's necessary in every which way or form. And at that time, I wasn't in the union, so I could take any play all over. So it was just like, I think I had like 3 at once for some reason, like as you're doing now, just like, or like stuff like that, just packing the schedule where you don't have a moment any day of the week. You're just going, you're doing stuff. And so I was in that mode at the time. And so she was like, here's this audition, come on. I was like, of course, audition, blah, blah, blah. Let's do it. What do they need? Anything. 3 minutes? Let's go. I'll juggle, I'll beatbox, I'll tell a joke, I'll, improv, here we go. Let's do it. What we got to do? I did that audition. I think I was the only one that showed up from the cast. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't mean to put everyone on a blast like that. Everyone showed up. It was great. It was a great time. But it didn't really click with me until the callback. The callback was in the hospital, and you went on rounds with 2 professional clowns. And to clarify, this is healthcare clowning. This is therapeutic clowning at hospitals, where we go and visit patients
you
and
go
staff.
through like a training of it, like it's like serious work.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
Serious work as much as clowning can get.
It's serious fun.
Yeah.
So I got to the hospital, and they paired me with who would become one of the most influential people in my life. One of these clowns here, his name is Dr. Smarty Pants. This amazing clown from Atlanta. And me and him clicked so quickly. It wasn't even just an artistic thing, but it was like a friendship thing. Like, he was at the original audition and loved the joke that I threw out there, and then
What was it?
So Party Will walks into a bar, right? Party Will comes in. Party Will's got his boom box. He's got his hat to the side. You know, he's got his parachute pants, because Party Will's here to party. He's got his sunglasses. It's inside. He knows. He doesn't care. He walks in, and everyone at the bar looks up and was like, "Party Will! Party Will's here!" And Party Will's like, you know, just strutting in, not sweating it. Party Will gets up to the bar. And the bartender looks over and is like, "Party Will." Just his face is just like so grateful and happy that Party Will is here. I mean, Party Will. And he looks at Party Will and he's just like, "Yo, Party Will, you know, what can I get you?" And everyone's just having a great time because Party Will is just ready, you know. And Party Will looks at the bartender and looks him in the eye and goes, "Mom. Mom. Mom." That's the entire joke. So, actually, the entire joke is one of those things that goes on for like a long time, and then in the end, you just make whale sounds. But what was funny is that a friend who told that to me was like, it's like the key is to get to 5 Party Whale noises. And I like thought about that, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Actually, if I do 5, like 3 is funny. Like first you're like, okay, that's fine. The second one is like, okay. The third one's like, oh, okay, it's a thing. The fourth one is uncomfortable. The fourth one's like, is this still going on? And then the fifth one is like, there it is again. It is going on." And then there's like the trope of comedy in 3s. And I had a friend of mine who's not a friend, a mentor of mine, another mentor who's just like a clown mentor, who's like, you know, they say comedy's in 3s, but he's like, "No, it's not. It's in 5. It's in 7. It's in 1,000,001." He's like, "As long as it's an odd number." And I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
So really, it's like that. The joke is you do that Party Will noise 5 times, and it's just the right amount of like, this is weird but funny. I don't know, whatever. So me and him got to talking about like dissecting the idea of like how many times do you make that Party Will noise, and we became like quick friends. We just like clicked, and they hired me for the job, and you know, it's a very intimidating job on a couple fronts. One, the hospital side of things. We work with the staff, with the nurses, with the doctors. So we learn protocol, we learn hygiene, how to make sure that you are, you know, washing up and you are clean, that you're not going to make anything that is in the hospital that is bad any worse. And also for yourself, so you don't get anything that you don't want to get on you. Educating ourselves about terminology, educating ourselves about, you know, which rooms we can go into, which rooms we cannot go to. If we do go into a room, do we gown up? Do we put on a mask? All these hospital-related things that we have to learn, like from the medical side of things. Basic things that if you work in the medical field, you have and you learn. We went through specific training for that. And then on top of that, we go through artistic training. And that was another part where it was intimidating, is I'm not a clown. I'm an actor. I'm an improviser. And, you know, when I think of clown at first, I'm like, oh, it's, you know, circus and juggling and, you know, being funny. And then you get to meet some of these clowns who've been doing it for 20, 30 years. And you're like, this is a craft.
it's an art, yeah.
This is monumentally artistic in a way that I never knew. And so starting that job, I was intimidated by the medical aspect of it, of just the sheer gravity of knowing, of that knowledge of knowing hospital type things. And also, you know, having to see things that you don't necessarily want to see in a hospital or anywhere. And then on top of that, artistically being like, there's so much depth to the art of clowning and the art of humor that I never knew, and there's so many masters at it. What have I gotten myself into?
What is this world? It's like a new world.
It's a whole new world entirely. And I work for a company called Healthy Humor Incorporated, and amazing network nationwide of clowns. And so I started that work there, and I kind of saw it as a job and as a role. I approached it as an actor. What are my lines? What does a clown say that is funny? Okay, these are the things that a clown says. Okay, these I tried to take it from an academic level. For me it was like, hey, your name is Troy, you're an actor, your role is a clown.
Okay.
Go from there. And that's the only way I knew how to approach it. It was, a play. And I did my best to do that, but what I didn't expect was how much I was going to learn from those around me. And this is where that adaptation came in full effect. At the hospital, we work in partners. And every partner I went out with was someone who had been doing this for years. And they all had different styles, and they all had different flavors, just like the directors, just like the actors at my acting school. They all had these different things. And at this point, I just wanted to be a receptacle for their knowledge and their talent. So when I went out with a guy who was puppets, I was puppet guy. When I went out with a guy who juggled, I was like, let's juggle. I'll learn how to, do whatever juggling thing I need to do. When I went out with, improv person, it was all improv, and I just learned to adapt to all the different styles. And unbeknownst to me, I was picking and learning all these different styles, and they were all pooling into what would, turn out to be my style, which was a collection of all of these, masters, at their work. And so artistically, the intimidation kind of waned as soon as I got to know who I was working with more and became friends with them, and, really learned from who they are philosophically, artistically, and, spiritually even. And yeah, it just got more and more, I guess it got less intimidating to find myself within that work. My mom is a nurse. She has been working in a hospital her entire life, so I'm familiar with being in a hospital, either visiting mom, or maybe we stay there because a hurricane's coming through, or, our stories that she would have coming home. She was the charge nurse, so she would have, lots of stories of tales growing up with a medical professional as a mother. Like, if you get a scratch or something, she could tell you what it is and know what you have to do. So it was awesome. So being able to bring a little bit of my personal life into my work was really wonderful. Being able to talk to my mom about hospital things was cool too. So it really was a job that kind of surprised me, and touched a lot of different aspects of my life that I wasn't expecting.
Now I feel like you've graduated to like one of the top clowns of Florida, right?
Over the years, I've been there since 2011, and a couple years ago. What's that?
That's when I met you.
Yes, that's right. A little fall of 2011. That's true. That was my first year in the clown world.
I've always known you as a clown.
That's true. Wow. That's cool. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah.
I like not having an identity beyond clowning to you. So a couple years ago, there was an opening for the supervisor position of the Miami team. So manage payroll, schedules, artistic vision of the South Florida team. And so my bosses at the time had a few people they were thinking of, and they thought of me because I do a lot of work at a camp up in Connecticut, and my work there I guess was influential and thorough enough that they felt that I would be capable of leading the team down here in South Florida. And at first I was like, me? I just started. Like, this guy's like been here for 10 years. Like, are you sure? And, and they kind of put it all up, and we talked with each other, and I talked with the other people that were up there, and we all kind of came to a consensus of like, I think you're ready for this, Troy. And I was like, are you sure? They were like, yeah, I think we're all sure. I think we're sure. And I was like, okay. And since then I've been supervising the team down here and leading the Miami team.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of fun, and
Huge.
it's a great responsibility.
You are the South Florida clown.
I mean, I am. We are a team. We are collective.
Can you talk a little bit about the camp in Connecticut that you do?
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it? Talk to me about what it is.
And the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp is a
That's
camp.
What it's called?
Yeah, the Hole in the Wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what it's called.
It was created in the late 80s by Paul Newman, distinguished actor and philanthropist.
Huh?
Yes. He named it off of, the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They were in a gang there. It was a Hole in the Wall gang. And the idea of that is that gang had, their hideout was a place where no one could find and they could just be themselves. And so he wanted to create a camp for kids with serious illnesses to feel like they had a place where they could be, and that they could totally just be themselves. And he created that place. Beautiful. Worked with Doc Pearson to work on the medical side of things, and he worked on the kind of making the deals happen. And they created a beautiful magical place up in Connecticut, and opened in the 80s, and have been flourishing and thriving and growing ever since. Since their inaugural opening, Paul Newman had a conversation with Michael Christensen, who was the pioneer of hospital clowning, the way that we do it. And they got to talking, and at this time, the hospital clowning was Michael Christensen was starting hospital clowning in the way that we know it today, in his own right in the late 80s. So they kind of saw each other as people in the late 80s who were creating this thing for children with serious illnesses, both in separate ways, and they saw where they overlapped. And so through that conversation, Paul Newman and Michael Christensen were like, hey, you want to have some clowns at this camp? And they were like, cool. They hired a husband and wife duo who stayed the entire summer, from May till August, and they were these roaming, fun, entertainment slash pranksters slash just magical folk that kind of just lived at camp while the camp itself was running. And the camp's amazing, horseback riding, archery, theater, arts and crafts, everything that you would want, boating and fishing, all tailored for kids who normally can't do these things, And so they created this place, this magical place, and they opened up, and the clowns got, we were honored to be part of this as just that kind of, I think it was put to me as like special sauce, like, camp is like this lovely, lovely sandwich, and the clowns are just like, the little sauce. You can't really explain exactly what it is, but it like, just kind of, it's a little thing, but it makes it, just makes the sandwich.
Special sauce is like the best.
Yeah, the full meal is all in the sandwich. It's all there. The medical staff, the counselors, the leadership, like the full meal is there. We're just that little thing that is just, extra. And so because of that legacy, clowns have been coming to that camp every summer since then. And that was the late 80s. This is clowning purely at what I would say is like its essence. Like, there's no makeup. We're not coming in with, honkers and, squirting flowers or anything like that. We're just
joy at its purest form.
We're just like what we call us plus. We're ourselves, but we're just amped up. And we're thinking of ways to improve camp at all times. Just ways to break up the schedule, or to put on a little prank that's fun that makes everyone feel like they're getting away with something, or to razz on some of the leadership and things like that, just to keep that kind of fun energy going.
Yeah.
We wear costumes. There's themes every week. If it's Pixar week, we'll dress up as Woody and Buzz and run out there. If it's Star Wars week, I'm coming out as a Jedi. So it's clowning to me.
How many clowns are there?
There's only 2.
Oh wow.
Every session has a different theme, and so for each session there's 2 clowns. So we may have 10 clowns over the entire summer, but for each session, there's only 2. You work with a partner. That's how we do it in the hospital as well. We work with a partner.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to have someone to play off with.
Yeah.
And to save you if you're flailing or something, you know, to pick you back up. So 2 is the magic number for us. So when I worked in the hospital, like I said, it was an audition, it was a job, and it was a cool job. And I was deeply fascinated in working at the hospital and working and stretching my clowning artistic prowess. But it really wasn't until I went to camp that like it really dug in. Like I already loved the work. I was already feeling it. I loved everything that I was learning, but I don't know what it was about the work at camp that I guess really got into my bones. But it changed the way that I was looking at healthcare entertainment, healthcare humor. And since then, it has been something that I am now utmost passionate about. Like I said, at the time I was doing plays still. So every Monday night I would go to the hospital. It was something I was doing while I was an actor. After that, I found myself becoming more like, this is where I think I want to be fully.
What a journey.
Yeah. And I'm super grateful that the journey has led me here.
It's like really inspiring, you know what I mean? It's just like the idea of just like, yeah, sure, I'll take this opportunity and see where it takes me, and then like look at where you are now, you know what I mean? And look at like the, you know, there's nothing that is more gratifying than feeling like fulfilled in something that you do, you know what I mean? And just feeling like I'm meant to be right here, right now, you know, and that's just so nice.
I'm mostly I'm grateful because I feel so privileged to be around people that inspire me. Because that's what makes me happy, is just being inspired by amazing people doing amazing things, and just getting to witness them do these amazing things blows me away.
What's been like the most challenging part about being this new phase in your life? Or not that it's like that new anymore, but like
right.
Just like the clowning and stuff, you know, like what's like a talent that you've acquired, and what's something that's like made you kind of be like, whoa, this is what I'm doing right now?
So a talent that I've acquired, reading a room. When you go into one of those,
that's a huge talent.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It takes a while. They're good at getting you through it. Reading a room is definitely a talent. You walk into a room and instantly it's, you know, well, you ask the question, may I come in or not? You know, would you like a visit? And right off the bat, it's about empowering the patient. You know, so many times they're in that room and they have doctors and nurses coming in all the time. They don't get a say of that. They just come in, they do their thing, they leave because they have to. They're taking care of the kid. So
Is it always kids?
Yeah, we're at a children's hospital, so it's all minor. Sometimes they're like 17, so it's not like a kid,
yeah,
or they're 18 even.
Sometimes they're the ones that need it the most.
Oh, totally. And it's a different approach, you know, and that's reading the room.
Adaptation,
Yeah, when you open the door, you see the patient, you see, you know, if there's anything heavy medical happening, you see if the lights are off or on, are they dim or not, you know, like what state of the lights are dim, then you know that maybe you're going to do something quiet, maybe sing a little song, do a little music, you know, something light. If there's lots of people in the room, there's family members, there's aunties and uncles, then it's party time, you know, let's go, the lights are on, the kid's having fun, you know. You walk in and the person's 17 years old, and maybe it's a time for you to, instead of going into our shtick, I could just be like, hey, what's up, you know, and just talk as myself, you know.
Yeah.
Talk as Troy, but through the guise of Waffles,
Yeah.
And just like talk about the video game that came out that they're playing, or, you know, talk about, you know, maybe we'll talk about a new artist or something like that. Or if it's a little tiny baby who doesn't know the difference of you being a clown or not, and you're there for the parents, you know, you as well as the kid.
That's
to
interesting,
yeah. So you read all these things in a instant when you walk in, and it's such.
That's a really great skill.
Yeah, it's
that could apply outside of the hospital, you know what I mean? Just like
Totally.
walking into the bank.
Conversations.
You know, like, yeah.
Sometimes I'll be in a conversation with people and be like, oh, this is turned. Nobody knows it. This conversation's going to be awkward in 3, 2, yep. There it is. So reading a room has become very, very beneficial in that respect. Hard parts of the job, and I think hard could be relative because there's strength in the hard moments as well that you gain.
Right. But the fact that you can acknowledge that is huge. You know, like the fact that you can acknowledge that, like in the hard moments is where you find these strengths. Like that's huge for anybody to say. You know, so like.
And you know, being in the hospital or at camp, it's there. It's not hard to find. You know, in those tough situations, the strength is not hard to find. It's right there. You know, right in front of you. And so, yeah, you'll, you know, for instance, there's some moments that are tough in a more of a trooper way. You know, there was a child that was in the ER and had an accident. So, you know, they had a pretty gnarly cut on their forehead, a gash, maybe you'll say, or a rip. And they had to sew it back on, pretty much the forehead stuff. And now we're not getting like close because it's all medical procedure and we're doing everything by the books. Like nothing is you know, we're not like getting in there or anything. But they asked us to come by just to distract the fact that they have to sew this child's face back onto his forehead.
So it's happening while he's doing this?
Yeah, because the kid would notice what they're doing and start bawling and then moving, and he's like 3 or 4 years old, probably 4. He's like 4 years old, and so they start moving, and then it's harder to do their job. So they called us in like a Hail Mary, like maybe this will help, because they couldn't do what they needed to do to help the kid because he was just squirming so much. So we came in and he was wearing a Toy Story shirt, and me and my partner Clown, we just went into You Got a Friend in Me, you know, just started singing the song and dancing around, and you saw his face just like look at us and just like, you know, the crying stopped. He wasn't smiling. He was just staring blankly at us like, you're doing a thing that I recognize. And this like, you know, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, whatever. The moment we would stop singing, he would then realize that they're sewing his face back on, you know, his forehead. And so he would start screaming and moving again. So we're like, whoa, okay, well, now we're going to do, you know, A Whole New World, or we're going to do, you know, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And we went through the entire, like, Disney repertoire. We even went, like, off animated. We went to Mary Poppins. We got ourselves... I mean, I probably not. But, you know, at that point, it was just like, you know, we were doing the thing, we were dancing, we were playing music, we were singing, and he was watching us. I don't know if he was enjoying us, but it was enough that he was just looking at us and not thinking about, you know, all the good stuff that's happening to help him. That's a moment where it's tough, where you're looking at some gnarly stuff, but really all you're thinking of, you know, artistically is how can we keep this going? How can we keep this person's attention until they're helped fully by the professionals, by these professional medical professionals. So that's a moment where, like, in the moment, it's hard. You know, other instances you don't quite expect. Like, I remember we were heading to a room, and one of the nurses came by and they stopped us, and they were like, "Hey, there's a 4-year-old in a room over here. They were just in a car accident. She's fine. Like everything is fine with her. But her mother didn't make it through the accident." And she acknowledges that. Like, they talk to the 4-year-old. She like understands the concept of what happened, but not fully. She knows mommy, you know, all that stuff. She tells us this and was like, "Can you do anything?" So me and my partner Clown, we knock on the door. "Hey, can we come in?" The family members are all there surrounding this girl. She's coloring, and that is hard. It feels the importance to just be real and approach the situation with sensitivity and love and to the best of your capability understanding. You know, we're clowns. We're goofy. We're fun. We're not going to come in there and talk about what's happening. We want to come in there and just provide a little levity for a 4-year-old who's going through a traumatic moment. And, you know, we pass by a family member who's crying in the hallway. We knock on the door. We open it. We see her in there. She's coloring. There's people sobbing around her. There's a few people that are holding her. And then we just launch into, you know, for me, I do a lot of music when I'm down there. So we launch into a funny song. I think we might have made something up on the spot or something, and we get her, you know, clapping and dancing and singing and all that. And, you know, is this going to fix everything for her? No, but in this very moment, for these, you know, 10, 15 minutes, you know, if we can just provide a little bit of relief for her, and through her family. They see this girl laughing and singing, you know, it helps them deal with some very horrible events that are happening. So it's hard, but you see the strength of the families, of the patients, of the medical professionals, nurses and doctors. Like, you see the strength that they're having in camp when it comes to the counselors and the leadership. And of course the patients, like, their strength to me is so inspiring and awe-inspiring, that I don't necessarily want to crawl in a hole, I guess, after, you know, hearing these things.
Do you think that affects you when you come home?
Yes. Of course, everything that I experienced through work is definitely, you know, helps or contributes to the makeup of who I am. Perspective is a lot of that, and motivation is a lot of that too. I see campers who are going through very serious procedures, very serious experiences, and I'm working with counselors, and those counselors, some of them are former campers who have gone through that stuff.
Wow.
And it is so motivating to work with a peer who has also been in that position of who we're here for. And then I look at the camper and I look at them and I look at the camper and I look at them, and I'm just like, this is beautiful. And that beauty definitely colors every aspect of my life and decision making and personal relationships. And you know, there's ugliness in humanity, there's beauty in humanity, and I am grateful to get to see that beauty. So it definitely does influence my life, and I'm grateful for that it does. So the mental health of it is also very serious. I'm very privileged to work with a company who understands that. We have a get-together rehearsal / meeting like once a month or so, and within that, our company hires a therapist to come in.
That's wonderful.
And we call it emotional hygiene. And as a group, we can bring these things to her, and she is specialized in this field. So
this is like such a huge, wow.
It's
That's amazing.
It's so smart of the company to do so, and they've been doing it, you know, for a very long time, bringing in a therapist, and it's really necessary for the work. And I would hope that, you know, any medical professional has access to stuff, because, you know, sometimes you see things that are hard to see or deal with, or experience, or resonates with you in a personal way with personal, losses or things that you've gone through that are going to trigger stuff. And you need to talk about that with a professional. I'll talk to my wife, Mandy, about certain things here and there. Of course, I'll explain to her funny jokes we have, or, something that was like, whoa, this was a moment. And, that helps incredibly, but then we also have a professional therapist who can dig deeper on some of these issues and help us through that. Because yes, we are approaching subject matter that can be very uncomfortable and hard to see and experience. But then we push through that to bring humor and levity to the equation, and humanity to the equation. And sometimes mentally that is a circus act. That's mental acrobatics to jump through those emotions, still feel them, not just ignore them, but to process them in a way that you could continue doing your job. And it's been instrumental to have someone like that with our team, and they have someone for every team across America that does this work in our organization.
So since you brought up Mandy, you want to talk about your mom support?
Oh my God! Look at my voice. Yeah. It gets so high. I just think about her, and I raise 5 octaves. I'm smitten.
Yes. Well, great. Mandy is your wife.
Yes.
And can you talk about, because it's just like, it's a whole nother side of you, like even the video games, like Renaissance festivals, like what is like the comic book stores that you can, you know what I mean, like all the stuff that you guys do together, which is such a huge part of you, and like still it has your your like clowning essence, but it's just like it's a whole nother side. Like talk about Mandy for me.
Totally. Oh, man, how many hours do we have? Like,
I mean,
man, like, yeah, Mandy is the greatest inspiration of my life. Like, she is my partner in life, and it's such a not award. What am I looking for? Like, not a prize, but she's such a wonderful addition to who I am, and really bolsters who I am, and with my identity. We are similar in so many ways, but have just the right amount of differences. Like we did a personality test recently. Old school to color personality test. It's an old school personality test, and there's 4 different cores of where you drive from, like where you find your inner core, and you answer a bunch of questions about your childhood, of course. And so for me, I fall into the core of like, I'm motivated by fun. Like, let's go, let's have fun, let's jump, let's play, I've been playing with toys since I was a child, and I'm still playing with toys. Like, this is just, even acting to me is just an extension of me playing with my toys, and then finding the deeper meaning behind it, of course. But, and I just want to have fun and get out there and meet new people and all these things. And that comes with detriments of, being a little all over the place and being a little messy. Like, I thought this I thought this podcast was yesterday because I was so, I
freaked out. I was like, we said the 11th. I'm not sure. Oh my God. And like, I'm like packed in my schedule, and I was like, oh my God, and I like looked back and was like, and I was like willing to like move things around. I was like, if Monday's when he could do it, that's fine.
That is a detriment of just who I am. It's like
so many ellipses. Like, sure. Just double checking.
Which I appreciate every ellipsis. You're very gracious. But sometimes I guess I'm just so in the moment that if it's not in the moment, I don't understand. Like, oh, we're not doing it tomorrow? Oh, today's not tomorrow? Tomorrow's not yesterday? Who am I? Where am I? What's going on? So I appreciate people like yourself, people like Mandy, who have a skill set that can like help me in that regard. A lot of her motivation comes from like power and strength. She will make that schedule, and we'll stick to that schedule. She will, if there's a plan, we're going to follow through on that plan. We're going to do that. When it comes to even like keeping the house, she will find ways to make sure everything is orderly and well put together. And you know, as she says it, the way that I kind of influence her, sometimes she can get real too into the planning. You know, our wedding was an example of that. She gloriously put together all of these things to make it tick and make it work and make it efficient. And then I would come in and be like, what if we give out socks? Let's give out crazy socks, you know? And then, you know, I'll work on this side, this kind of crazy, you know, our flavor, to keep our flavor. And then she'll work on the mechanics of it to make sure it happens. Right. So, you know, we're incredibly similar. We love, you know, gaming and entertainment and friendship and politics are the same. Our stances on religion are the same. So we're grateful to have a lot of similarities on those things, but also, her personality really drives me to continue to grow and to get better, you know, and it's about getting better, you know. Yeah. And yeah, we love to have fun together. I think we didn't get. I was messing up your text last night because we found a private karaoke bar somewhere, which I didn't even know they had those anymore. And we were just strolling because it was nice outside. And then I kind of looked up and I was like, is that a private karaoke bar? And she's like, I guess so. I'm like, can we do that? She's like, I don't know if I want to sing. I'm like, let's do it. And then we got in there. We had a great time, 2 hours of just singing musicals and Irish songs. Just the two of us. Oh, just, yeah. Singing It's Raining Men and, you know, James Bond, and, you know, she's killing like as many Pippin songs as you can get, you know. And it's just so great to have her part of my life. She's so lovely with my family, and gets along with my sisters and my mom and my dad, and with my friends as well, you know. She's so cool. She loves you guys.
More than I love you.
Yeah, I hear you.
You guys just like really complement each other, you know, like you guys just like, you guys just have like this beautiful balance, and obviously it's from, you know, it's from my perspective, but it's just like there's just such a beautiful like, it's both of you. You guys both walk into a room and it's just like, you feel like so much love, you know what I mean? Radiating with each other and like to everybody, you know, and like that's so rare.
And, you know, it also comes from past experiences. We both are coming from our own, you know, complicated histories and learning from those and learning from past relationships. So, you know, when it comes to us, we really do strive to talk to each other about things and continue to check in. Because it's hard.
So important in a relationship.
Yeah. And
any relationship, whether
totally.
It's like a lover relationship, a friendship, anything, just
parental,
in.
even.
Yeah, parental. I mean, literally, with my dog, like it's just like.
He's talking all the time.
Yeah, he's like my favorite. But it's just like that's something that like I feel like I'm okay at, but like I strive to always get better at. It's just like the idea of like communication and just being like, this is where I am right now, you know, and like that's so important to continue a relationship, you know, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and to strive to just be real, right. You know, if if something doesn't make sense to you, or if something is not working for you or something, to have that encouragement to be real with the other person. I want her to, if she's not feeling, if she needs something, I want her to feel supported to be able to bring that to me, right. You know? And so that's just something you're always kind of working and striving for. But yeah. I'm just so grateful to have her in my life. Like, she's so awesome. Like, what am I? Hey, what are we doing? Hey, you like me? It's cool. This is fun.
So, if there was something that you could tell, like the 17-year-old version of yourself that's like at UC, you know, where were you at UCF?
Yeah, or coming out of high school, yeah.
Yeah, coming out of high school, and like being like, I'm gonna be in advertising, and I'm gonna, you know, like, and then just like starting to realize that that's like not exactly what you want, and just going into that place, like, what would you tell that version of yourself?
That youngin'.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, 10 years later.
Yeah. I think that I would tell myself to love more. I think at that time in my life, I was coming out of a very religious background, grown up very religious, and a lot of, and religion is great for many reasons, but sometimes I feel like that held me back from being as open as I could have been as I grew to be from those days. I feel like the family values that came with, certain beliefs definitely held me back at that age from loving everyone and loving who I was. That I think if I could tell myself something, it would be to open yourself up more and to embrace the love in more things, more people, and more experiences. Yeah.
Love is
an understanding.
Yeah. It's adaptation. It's
right.
Just like
it's what we humans
present.
do.
Yeah, it's being present. Like that's love is complicated, but love is so easy. It's just like being there, and being present, and just like adapting and all of that.
And learning, because it's not defined. It's not fully defined.
Right. Okay, so we are at the final part of our podcast.
Yeesh.
The what's new part.
Yes.
So what's something new that you've done recently?
Actually, this kind of, I think coincides with something you asked earlier, which was like about the clowning, of like what's some hard parts about it. And one hard part that I didn't expect was kind of living in a world with less theater in my life. The past year or so, I've been more focused on camp and clowning, that I haven't acted much like on stage. I've done a reading here and there, which I'm very happy to do, but like I just haven't gone out for auditions because of other responsibilities, and also just where my kind of interest has been shifted. And it's hard to just, and sometimes new things aren't easy.
Right.
But I'm trying to figure out how I feel about that.
Right. I mean, it's a huge change. Like, it's just like, it's you changing, you, no, I don't want to say the word growing up, because that's not, we're the kind of people that don't really care. But it's just, yeah.
Neverland.
Like, just a transition in your life that, like, is positive. It's such you're going through such a positive transition in your life, but it's just like, yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's just different.
I'm trying to not with the new place that I'm at in my life right now, trying, I guess, not to let the failure monster rear its ugly head, because that'll happen, because it's like, you haven't done a play in 2 years, that means you're not doing enough, like people are gonna forget who you are, and you're gonna have to, you're taking steps back now, or do you even like theater, are you even an actor, like it starts getting into you, and that's part of doing something new with your life, or a new transition, is fear. And also, it's also, hard to or good to realize that that's also an absolute. Just because I haven't, necessarily been out on the scene for a little while, doesn't mean that I'm never going to be, ever acting again or anything like that, and realizing that I'm putting another weird expectation on myself that I don't need to. Again, we're so young. I'm still dealing with the same things that I dealt with when I was 20, but it's,
and that's something.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's something so like amazing to just kind of put into perspective, that it's like we go through transitions, and if we're gonna be 60 and we're gonna be going through a transition, maybe feeling the same way that we are feeling right now, and just knowing that like things work out as long as you just kind of are open, and like you go in with an open heart, and you're just like, well, okay, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing at the moment, and like somehow, if I trust it, things will work, and that's, I think that's something that I've gathered from your journey, it's just cool. Like, from, just hearing you talk about how everything's panned out for you, it's just like, it's just the idea of being open to opportunity, and that's like super inspiring, it's just being like, well, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to adapt to it, and I'm going to see how this works, and it could work, and it could not work, but right now I'm going to see if it works, and, and that's super inspiring,
Cool.
What's what's something new that you would like to try?
Oh, so this new thing is something that I've myself been putting on a shelf for a long time. But
Okay.
being able to think about it and say it into a microphone makes it more real.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be like a
Yeah.
People are gonna hear this.
And I've had a few. I have a friend who's gone down this road, but I've been threatening myself with learning the banjo for years. I play the ukulele, and I love playing the ukulele at the hospital. But my Connie.
And you taught yourself.
Yes, YouTube taught me, and then practice.
As millennials do.
YouTube, yeah, kicks you over the hump, but then you practice a bunch and play for a bunch. My Connie mentor, Michael Garner, he's in Cirque now. He's amazing. He opened me up to clowning in the hospital. He opened me up. He was the guy that got me into the camp, and now I'm working with him and his wife on a new adventure that we're doing. He's been just one of the closest friends and greatest people I know, him and his wife. And so he's played the banjo, and every time I would see him play the banjo, I would just look and be like, that is amazing. I want to do that. Let me do it. And then I kind of geared up for it. And one Christmas, my mom asked me, what do you want for Christmas? And I mentioned, the banjo. I was like, oh, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. This is going to be great. My mom and dad, they do the best they can. They're from the islands. They're doing the best, she goes to the, one of the music stores, and she ends up getting talked into buying an electric guitar. Not a banjo, by whoever was there.
Just like trying to do the best you can.
So I get there on Christmas, and we're doing the gifts, and I'm giving them out, and everything's great. I'm so happy. I'm like 27, 28 at this time. I'm not a kid anymore, but like the presents are there, and I'm probably older. Yeah. And then she's like, I got one more gift for you. And I'm like, oh, damn, it's the banjo. Oh, my God. She pulls out the box. It's banjo shaped. I'm like, Mom, I'm like freaking out. I'm like, this is going to be it. It's the banjo. And I, like a 6-year-old opening up his Ninja Turtle presents, I start ripping into that thing. Like, here we go. And then here's this beautiful, lovely
electric guitar.
Keith Urban electric guitar with an amp, and I'm like, you do that thing where it's like, I'm happy. Yep, this is this is so good. Oh my! And it's a double fold, because on one hand, I'm super awesomely my my mom is the best. She this is not an easy gift. This is a big gift she got me.
Huge, actually.
An electric guitar is out of this world. So I'm like over the moon about oh my God. But then there's this little gremlin that's like, you wanted the banjo, but you didn't get the banjo. Hate it. And I'm like, so of course I busted out, and I tried my damnedest to learn how to play the electric guitar. I bought videos. I bought videos. I watched YouTube. I got a game that went with it. I did everything to try to learn it, but it just didn't gel with me. And so because of that, I didn't want to disappoint my mom. So I learned 2 songs, and I was like, here we go. Here's Hit Me Baby One More Time. That was the first song I learned on that. And then eventually I gave it to my sister. I was like, I'm not using this. And because, yeah, she plays guitar, acoustic. Oh. So she kind of asked if I was still using electric guitar after a year or so. And I was like, please let it go to a good home. I haven't touched it. I'm sorry. But that's got in me of being like, oh, but if my mom sees me with the banjo, it's going to make her feel bad. But it's been long enough. That was 5 years ago. And so I feel like, hey, maybe it's time to put those demons to rest and banjo it up, And I just love that instrument. It looks so super cool.
I felt that way recently about the accordion. I was like, I think it'd be so cool if I learned how to play the accordion.
Yes.
But that literally lasted 2 weeks.
You get the smaller one, the squeeze box.
Yeah,
so it's a little portable.
So I did a show at the museum where it was a Halloween show. It was called The Monsters Under My Bed. And so I wasn't there to write it because I was on tour, but the whole thing was the idea that there was these monsters under this little boy's bed, and like the boy's like really scared, and the monsters are like trying to get him, and they're like, come meet us in our lair under your bed. And then you find out that it's because they're in a band and they've heard him sing like this song that like he sings a song when he's scared.
Oh, wow.
And so we hear him sing the song, and we're like, he's such a good singer, we need him for the band. And so the whole time it's like you think that they're like trying to hurt him, but then it's just like we just want him as a member of our band. And so I played the witch that plays the accordion.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I made it a thing, I was like, the witch has to play an accordion because I want to learn how to play an accordion. And then I held the accordion and I was like, I'm real bad at this. It's not like I feel like other things have been like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, like the podcast, I'm gonna do it, I'm like super invested, and I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter if I like mess up, but like the accordion, I was like, oh, that was a good dream for like 5 minutes.
Hey, dreams are dreams,
Who knows, maybe one day.
Yeah.
I mean, the accordion, I just want an accordion to like decorate my house, you know what I mean, like what a cool.
Oh yeah.
Anything, just want to hold one, just feel like, that's that accordion form, like, I just have it.
Look at this thing. It gets tiny and then it's big. What's up?
It makes sounds.
Yeah, come on.
It's like harmonica-esque.
Yeah, you can poke it to it?
Yeah, it's great.
Dope.
Well, Troy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being here, for indulging me with your presence and dealing with little pickles.
Love them.
And just for being here and for being so open and honest and just like sharing your story, because I really think it's very inspiring, and I wish everybody knew you in person. I wish everybody knew you in person.
You're awesome. You are. I'm so grateful for the however many, like since 2011.
2011.
That we've been rocking this friendship. You're so special to me and to Mandy, and we're just so grateful to have you, in our lives. You're the best. And thank you for doing this. Like, just the idea of it is so wonderful and it makes us smile.
That means a lot. Thanks again for listening to the We're So Young podcast. Like what you've been hearing? Help spread the word. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, and tell your friends about We're So Young. And don't forget to follow us on our socials, at We're So Young Podcast on Instagram, at We're So Young Pod on Twitter, and We're So Young Podcast on Facebook. Let's all get inspired to try new things together. That's it for now. Tune in on the 1st and the 15th of each month for new episodes. Until then, step out of your comfort zones and try new things, 'cause we're so young.